right, welcome back, guys. This is Jay from J Vape, and today our guest is ready. He is John Moriarty from Chubby Gorilla. Let's add him to the chat. Hey, John.
I've got no sound.
You don't hear me now? Hello. 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 Anyone? Hello.
Hello, mate. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, John.
Ah, you've got me. Oh, shit. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Hey, bro.
Hi, mate. How are you? You can't hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I've got you loud and clear. How are you?
All right. Hold on. I'm good. I'm good. Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
Uh, I want to connect my headset. It's sunny there.
Yeah,
Now it's
occasionally.
8 p.m.
Yeah, we do
time,
get
right?
sun. We get a little bit of sun in England occasionally. I just seem to have been sat right directly in front of it right now, so I might put my glasses on in a minute.
Yeah.
I seem to have just caught the tail end of
Hold on.
the 1 week of sun we do get.
The sun is straight in your face.
I know. I put my glasses on actually. It's better. I can't see you too well, but I can hear you. So, how are you?
Do you want to change
No, it's
your
okay. It's
location?
nice. It's the last of the sun. It probably rain again tomorrow. So, can you see me okay?
Yeah, I see. Okay, now you'll gain some
You're breaking
vitamin
up a bit. Just 1 second.
D, if I'm not wrong.
Um,
Ooh, with the glasses.
yeah, I try to do something to keep it off. I might move a bit actually, see if I can just get out of this a little bit. Get in my lazy chair maybe. Yeah, that's better. Kids' Xbox things everywhere. That's better. So, how's your day been?
Yeah, is Charles going to join us?
Charles, no, Charles can't make it. Unfortunately, no, he's got tied up with a few things over
No worries.
in
Take it.
Michigan. Maybe another time. So this is your second show then? Okay, your second show?
Come again?
This is your second show?
Yep.
Yeah. How did last?
Yes. This is not gonna work. Let me try this again. It worked last time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bad connection.
Yeah, this is my second show.
How did last week go for you?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you. Good.
Yeah, I think. Well,
The picture quality is good.
All right, I had a few issues with the website that I was using, 50-second delay. But thanks God, I knew about this StreamYard. They're free to use as long as you
Yeah.
have this small logo on the top of the corner. So it's great. Last week wasn't that really good in terms of technicality, but we did the show and everyone enjoyed it. We had a lot of info about how to do your own juice, DIY juice. We have an excellent guy here in Lebanon called Paul Kirakosyan. He gave us all the info about how to do this.
Okay, that's good.
And I was really trying to give a trust to the local creators, especially due to coronavirus now. We cannot order anything from outside. And we have an issue in Lebanon. I don't know if you know about it. We have an issue with the rate of the dollar. We have two currencies. We have the Lebanese and the dollar. It used to be each dollar 1,500 Lebanese lira. Now it's triple. So we're having about buying juice.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty global phenomenon at the moment. I think a lot of countries are suffering with exchange rate with value fluctuations. Having sold liquids from the UK, we have three lots of currency to work in. So you have the local currency. Generally, people will buy in dollars, being the sort of universal currency, the greenbacks, and then we convert them back to pounds. So there's a lot of money being lost in the transaction through exchange rates and commissions being paid. And it doesn't take much of a hit or a drop in the local exchange rate to really affect the rate for consumers, which is not a good thing.
Okay, and is there any change in the US to euros, for example? Is there any affection for that?
Yeah, it's up and down. I mean, so the complexities of exchange rates mean that what's bad for the end user has historically been good for me as a seller. So when the exchange rate drops against the pound, it basically means although I sell at a dollar price, once it's converted into pounds, you're getting more pounds for the dollars that you're receiving. So the negative influence on consumers was actually a positive influence for us as a supplier. But ultimately, everything has to be about the consumer. If things are going well for the consumers, if they like the liquids, they're getting a good price, they buy more, and ultimately you see that at the top end. So short-term gains in a fiscal sense, in a financial sense for a supplier does not equate to long-term benefits for the industry on large. And I think I don't want to be disparaging of people within the industry, but some people don't see that. They see that short-term benefit as a positive, and it's not. It's a negative thing because they're not looking at. It's terrible because they're not thinking about what happens to the consumer. and the consumers drive this industry. They're everything, absolutely everything.
Yes,
And a consumer buying one bottle of your liquid a month is just as important as a wholesaler who buys 10,000, because without that one consumer, everything falls apart. I think
exactly.
there's some short-sightedness in the business, and it manifests itself in a lot of ways. Clones we've spoken about from liquids is something I feel really strongly about, and I'm not talking about replicas of juices. There's in Egypt,
Yeah,
for instance,
we're gonna talk a lot about how to detect a replica clone or a clone juice. First,
well,
I want
look,
to introduce our
sorry, go ahead.
audience to you. Uh, John, you used to be working with, is it Dinner Lady or Lady Dinner?
It's dinner lady, yeah. It's vape
All right.
dinner
So
lady.
he used to work with Dinner Lady Juice Company in UK, and now he shifted to Chubby Gorilla, which is an empty juice bottle. What happened here?
Nothing happened. There was nothing, sort of untoward. I'd been dinner lady had 4 fantastic years there. I'd worked in all the markets,
Spent
UK,
4 years with
EU.
Dinner Lady.
Yeah, it was 4 years there, pretty much from when they started, almost 4 years, pretty much from when they really started. It's a very important part of my life and a brand I'll always love. With some great friends. It gave me the opportunity to travel a lot. I visited and learned an awful lot about a lot of cultures. I met people from all over the world. I had some
You've been
really, really great
everywhere. You
times.
visited almost all the Arab countries, right? Except
Uh,
Saudi. I didn't see you.
no, I did. There are a couple. I didn't go to Iran, Lebanon. I didn't.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd love to have gone to Lebanon. I will at some point. I promise I will at some point. I didn't go into Syria, and I never got into Gaza,
Yeah,
but I
there's
did get
war now.
into
Nobody is allowed
Palestine.
to go to Syria now.
No, well, I wasn't allowed in Iraq, but it doesn't always stop you. Although I've been to Egypt, I've not been across the rest of North Africa. But I got to,
You didn't go
I've
to
been
Egypt.
yeah, Egypt's amazing. I love the people in
That's
Egypt.
surprising. Egypt is a huge market for juice,
Yes, yeah.
for vape in
Again,
general, but especially for juice.
yeah, I think the problem for Egypt is because they're fantastic people. They're just such, I think, to be honest, all of the Middle East is amazing. I love the place, not just the food, but the people, the culture. It's just so welcoming there. It's amazing. The
You
problem
tried a lot of
is,
Arabic foods, huh?
yeah, I love it. Yeah, I do like it. Yeah, I tell you. So I've been to
Name
China
some.
a couple of times.
Did you eat hummus?
Yeah, I did the hummus, mezza. I love the flatbreads and the mixed grills. I had something um, in Kurdistan was and I'm saying Kurdistan because it was the northern region of Iraq. I'm not going to get into that
Yeah.
Iraq, Kurdistan, or whatever debate. I'm not sitting on that fence, but um, I had this thing with a really really good friend of mine, Osama. He took me, it's his favorite meal, and it's basically
Meat.
cow's head. It's I can't remember what it's called now, but
They're
God,
famous
that
for that.
very famous. It was awful. It was so sweet, so awful. But I ate as much as I could.
They do it
But
underground, by the way.
okay, yeah.
They
But it
make
was
a hole in the floor and then put everything inside. Then they
what's
cover
it?
it.
What's it called?
I have no idea. I
Can't
saw
remember.
them a lot. They do it
Yeah.
basically in the desert.
Well, this was like they made a soup, and then there was like meats on breads, but it was like the bits of the cow's head and its leg it was cut from. It wasn't for me.
You
I'll
should
be
come to
honest. It
Lebanon.
wasn't for me.
We have very good cuisine, by the way. You should come to
I
Lebanon.
believe I believe the Lebanese hummus is the best. I've been
Yep.
told
We
that's where
have the
to get the
hummus,
best
we have the
hummus.
fattoush, we have a lot, a lot. If
Yeah.
I want to name them, I can stay for like half an hour calling food names now.
What I do find quite funny is everywhere I go, every country in the Middle East invented hummus. We invented hummus. They pinched it
Yes,
off us.
there is hummus everywhere.
Everybody said
There's
they
hummus
invented it.
everywhere.
Everyone says they invented it, which is great.
It's Lebanese. I think it's Lebanese.
There you go. You've added to the list. I'll put you on the list of countries that invented it. But I have been told by quite a few people that Lebanese hummus is the best.
Yep, you have to come and try it.
Yeah, I'll
By the way, I
definitely.
make one of the best hummus.
Ah,
I'm pretty good in
so
the kitchen. Yeah.
I'll have to. Do you know? It's not something I've ever done. I do cook a lot, but I've not. I've not tried to make hummus, but I will try that. Yeah, yeah. But
See,
one thing I did try. I got again a really good friend of mine, Ahmed, in Egypt. We went out for a meal when I was there, and it was a small vape event on the beach. It was just so chilled out. But it was so busy. There's maybe 2,000 people there, and I was there for dinner lady, and the little table stand we had. It's not like obviously European or UK events, but it was really close and personal. It was great. Um, was just swamped. It was 12 deep constantly throughout the day. And I was saying to Hamza, who really kind of organised the event, that I'll be okay. I'm on my own. I know what I'm doing. I'm all right. He went, no, I'll put a couple of people with you. Eventually, I had 8 people helping me run our little stand for people to taste because we were just swamped. Like it was crazy busy. But it's the first time there was myself and Naz from V God were there, and we're the only 2 international brands that bothered to attend. I bothered, saw it worthwhile. The rest were local juices. And I getting back to the point about the difference between a sort of replica and a clone. There's a guy in Egypt who makes his own lemon tart, which, as you know, Dinnerly are quite famous
mm,
for. And he put a post up, and I just put a little laughing emoji. And he sent me a message going, "Bro, I hope you don't mind," And I'm like, "Mate, we don't own lemon tart. It's a flavor we're famous for, and we perfected.
it's a flavor.
Fine.
Anyone can do it.
You've not cloned that. You've replicated it. He's in no way tried to say this is the original. He's just made another flavor based on it. I said, there's no harm in that. That's fine. It's actually, it's at the time it was flattering. It was flattering, and people should be flattered by that. The issue is when people copy and try to present their product as your product. It's really damaging for the industry. I mean, it's damaging for
Adds a dinner late.
well,
Yes.
as a vape brand, any vape brand, we're not, at the time as a representative of Dinner Lady, it was irritating when people did clone because the main problem is that, um, and it is a financial one in essence, is that vape brands invest a lot into innovation and into marketing and into promotion. And when someone comes along and presents their product as the authentic. People who try that for the first time, and I've had first-hand experience of this, think that that's what it genuinely tastes like, and that then puts them off purchasing the brand. Now, if you don't get, and this applies to all industries, this isn't just vape, this is any industry, any product, that if people don't get the remuneration back for their investment, the research and development, then it stops that innovation. It stops that research and development because they don't get the money back from it. And that's damaging for the industry ultimately. It's slightly different with Chubby Gorilla in that we we are market leaders when it comes to compliance and to advocacy and to sort of protecting the industry and to
That's something I wanted to ask you about. I
sure
was checking my dinner lady bottle juice. I didn't know before that in order to make sure that your juice bottle is authentic, you have to check below and see this. I don't know if you see it, the gorilla sign.
the little gorilla.
What?
That's one
Yeah,
way.
yeah. يعني, what I mean is, how did we reach this level that whenever you wanna make sure that it's an original bottle, you have to see the Chubby Gorilla.
Well, I
I
think
didn't know that.
I mean, other than that, it's very difficult. I mean, there's one obviously the child resistant caps are a key part of it. Our caps are certified, so we actually have official certificates. We've been endorsed, although I can't talk about who. There are a number of governments that put legislation forward that mentions us. Um, but the child resistant caps are something that are integral to our attempts to make the industry compliant. to ensure that there's a future for vaping, especially for emerging markets like yours, where you're battling government resistance to legalization. That we has as an industry, we have to try and self-regulate and only use authentic products because we it's not just about um, um, the trademark and patents and things like that. We only use virgin plastic. Now, recycled
Mm.
plastic potentially better for the environment. The problem is it degrades. So if you've got a bottle of liquid, sometimes I buy liquids. At the moment, I'm not vaping any desserts or tobaccos. I'm vaping a lot of fruit and icy flavors because it's summer. So I've got
Yes.
bottles of desserts that may sit there for 6 months, 12 months, right? And I won't use them.
Nothing will happen.
And nothing's going to happen to it in virgin plastic. And also with whereas your clones, and we're not just talking about. I'm not talking about other bottle manufacturers. I'm talking about clones now. There's a
I had
difference.
a clone bottle, juice bottle. I didn't use it for almost 3 months. It
Uh-huh.
turned dark. The juice inside of it turned darker.
Now I am no
So
scientist. I'm not saying
yeah,
that that was evidence of the bottle degrading, but it's synonymous with that. It does suggest that, but like I say, I'm not, I wouldn't argue. There'd be far more intelligent people than me with more knowledge who could probably tell
mm,
you exactly what happened there. But one of the key things is the child resistant caps. Like I say, I can't stress this enough that you've got you for you guys now. You're in a fortunate position. You may not see this, but looking at the Middle East in general, you're in a very fortunate position that you've got the opportunity to look at the mistakes that the rest of the world made and make sure you don't replicate the
yes,
mistakes. Look
right.
at, and I'll give an example of Canada where they to some extent, were allowed to self-regulate. The Canadian government were quite lenient, and not all by any stretch of the imagination. A very small percentage of stores sold to minors, and it created a massive problem for the Canadian vaping industry right now. And they're really, really struggling with that. And I think the wherever we can, we should look to self-regulate, and we have to, as consumers, refuse to accept anything but utter compliance, but complete compliance and complete.
Yeah. Now let
Uh,
me tell you what we're facing. What we're facing here, due to the exchange rate of the U.S. dollars, that thing we talk about in our first show also. We're having a problem where everyone is running to buy a cheap juice, right? And most of the time, 100%, they are fake. Now, the problem we used to buy the juice bottle for between 15 and $20, which is 30,000 Lebanese lira. Now it's like 90, between 60 and 90,000 Lebanese lira. The fake juice is still for like 20,000, 30,000. So you can separate which is fake and which is original or authenticated. And the issue is now some of them are saying, well, vaping is now costly due to the exchange rate, so we're going back to cigarettes. This is the problem, the
yes,
big issue that we're facing, and that's why my first show was with Paul, because Paul is still a very affordable option where we can buy locally made juice, and he used the highest ingredients for 30 to 40,000.
yeah,
The first show was just to show the people that you have another option instead of going to buy fake, which probably will end up hurting you, and then you'll have a general idea that vaping is really destructive, it's not good. But the issue is that you bought a fake juice bottle. So you
yeah,
can go to Paul and ask for a locally made juice, which is made also from the highest ingredients. We didn't know
yeah,
about the Chubby Gorilla, the sign of it, so you can know which is fake and which is original. And suddenly you moved to Chubby Gorilla. So we really want to know more about the process. Now, if, for example, if I want to make my own juice collection, I have to buy bottles from Chubby Gorilla in order to authenticate my product. Is it true?
well, look, we're not the only bottle company on the market that produces authentic bottles. There are other bottle companies. companies, what we are as a market leader, we provide probably 60% of the vape industry. I certainly think if you look at any reputable brand, it will inevitably be a Chubby Gorilla bottle. We also supply into the food industry as well, and that's partly down to like I said, the process, our compliance, the quality of the product, the virgin plastics, and more importantly, in a lot of cases, is the child-resistant caps, because one of the
It's not easy for a child to open it.
yeah, they're not easy to open. We have our new aviator range, which is still a child resistant cap, but is a storage solution. So we're not a vape company as such. We supply the vape
Yeah.
market, but we're actually a packaging solution, which might lost in lots of industries. Things like one of the larger ones that we actually produce can be used to store things
Wow.
like creatine, for instance. You know that
How much is it?
but I don't know.
How many
Worth
liters?
I'm not sure what size this one is. I'm not entirely sure.
400?
Yeah, 400-500 milliliters,
Because
something
let me
like that.
show
We
you
actually,
some. I have this, which is big. This is 200 ml. I think the one you have is bigger.
oh, it's much bigger. Yeah, we do have we make 200 ml bottles. Yeah, but the key thing with these, if you think just like if we looked at bodybuilders who use creatine, is a perfectly legal
Yep.
sort of body supplement, but it's not something you want a child to get hold of. So I might, if I see them, I've got a young child bobbing about somewhere. I'll get him to show you how he can't open it, which really irritates him because he's
It has
15-year-old.
also the child protection.
Yeah. So this, unless you've got the strength and you're going to struggle to open it.
Right.
And this is one of the things that took. This is sort of version 3 of our child resistant cap, which we have intellectual property right on, and it's a global patent. But we've invested a lot into that, and using clones damages that innovation. And this innovation is a protection, is a shield for the industry. While people were talking about all the fake news in the US last year, and it was all the lies and the misinformation about vaping kills, it's times like that we have to start to self-regulate and say, look, enough is
It's
enough.
pure THC. I think it's political. Yes, it is purely political.
100%. That's why I say fake news.
That.
Yeah, it was
See,
vitamin C acetate in a
like
THC.
in two different words. If you compare the US market and the UK market, the US saying that the vape is deadly and they started the vaping ban, while in in UK, and correct me if I'm wrong, I saw a post that there are some vape in the hospitals.
Oh yeah. Vape shops in hospitals. Yeah.
So this is true.
Yeah. I'll send you images of them. There's also
It's
the
180% degree difference between UK and USA.
and well, look, the main difference is this, as I see it. Okay, so this is opinion. It's, you take of it what you will.
Healthcare.
Yes, healthcare in the USA is profit based. Healthcare in the
Yes.
UK is prevention based. So when you're profit based healthcare system, you need sick people to make money. In the UK, we don't make money
Exactly.
from healthcare; we lose money from it. And
It's
so
provided by the government, right?
it was put in place by the government. We pay for it. We pay for it through tax. So we still pay, but we don't
Right.
pay at point of use. So the difference between the UK healthcare system and the US healthcare system is the US healthcare system is private and profit based and profit driven. The UK is not. It costs money. And so the core principle of the UK is to prevent illness, and the US is to treat illness, and that's how they make the money. And
Exactly.
so
To make money.
there's there was also, and it could probably develop into a very long conversation. So I'll send and post some links for you on this. There was also the Master Settlement Agreement in the USA, which was in essence the tobacco companies agreed to pay the states in the US a certain amount of money to help
every year.
treat cancer payments based on sales. Yeah, based on cigarette sales, tobacco sales, and what they did was they sold that bonded money, which was basically uh, for forever, was going to run forever. And to repay that money, they needed to continue payment. And when cigarette sales started to slump, that
The payment became
suddenly
smaller.
they couldn't afford the repayments. Now, make of that what you will. They're the facts
It's
of it,
this
whether that's an
this decision.
influence.
It's like
Well,
telling people vaping is healthy, but we need you to go back and buy cigarettes. I know cigarettes will kill you, but at the end of the day, we'll have money to pay the payments for the bond
eh,
thing.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is it. What I was, I can
I
point
have
out
a
the
better
facts.
idea for you. The payment that are paid yearly by the cigarettes company is not to treat cancer patients from cigarettes. It's basically
No,
to
it's never been
prevent
used for that.
cases against cigarette companies in the court.
Yes,
This is what
that
I
that
knew
was
from
that.
someone in the USA. That
Yeah.
money is exactly paid to prevent low cases against cigarette companies in the US.
Yes, it was to stop them. So they brought in legislation that meant they couldn't be sued for cancer. That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
And
is
you
really
can you can make of it what you will, and you can decide whether that's why they brought the legislation
but
or why the fake
if
news
I want to be
started. But
honest with you, to me, heaven on earth for vaping is UK.
look, it's got its pros
See,
and
here for
cons.
Lebanon, yeah, but I'll give you a small example. In Lebanon, we had shops before. All right, we had shops, and then suddenly police came to all shops, closed them, took all the stocks, and I know friends who lost 25,000. I know a friend who lost a stock of $200,000 worth of vaping. He can't get them back. Where did they go? Nobody knows. So now everything is sold through Facebook groups, Facebook pages, Instagram, WhatsApp group. That's it.
And the problem with that is when you push something underground, it creates a black market, and a black market is bad for the industry.
Exactly.
It's bad for
I mean, if
consumers.
they
It's bad
just
for the
allow
industry.
it, just by allowing it, a lot of shops, empty shops now, will be rented. These shops need employees, so you have unemployment will go lower. I know cigarette sales is gonna be lower for sure, as long as we have underground sales.
Well, look, vaping has driven smoking down. It's had a massive, massive effect on it. It's been the single biggest
Yeah,
impact on reducing smoking. Unequivocal, right? That's absolutely unequivocal. No one can argue
yeah,
that.
no doubt.
Without vaping, smoking cessation would continue. People will continue to stop smoking, but so vaping has increased now. That's unquestionable.
Yeah,
Um,
people will stop smoking before vaping. People will stop smoking when they go sick. That's the only way
yeah,
they stop smoking.
I think ultimately it comes down
When we
to
introduced vape, when we introduced vape, a lot of people have converted to vape. But then we had this issue, then another issue, then the dollar sign issue, the dollar rate, sorry, issue. Um, it's a big mess here in Lebanon. It's a big
yeah.
mess regarding vaping. But
Well, I
still, we're,
think
we're doing our best.
ultimately, I think it comes down to the same thing as most do is money. And if the
Yeah,
Lebanese government can find a way to reasonably tax vaping,
they
then
taxed Juul,
sorry,
not a Juul, sorry. They allowed the, what is it? The heating cigarettes,
oh, ICOS,
uh,
heat not burn.
IQOS.
Yeah,
I smell it like a very bad bread, you
horrible.
know, very horrible. I tried it once. It was bleh. They came to my
Well,
shop 2 years ago. They said we have a new invention, blah blah blah. They tried to convince me with it. I took I tried it one time and then I told her, please leave. I prefer cigarettes over this.
I,
It's
I,
really
I
ugly.
would, I would, I would. But and I think. without wanting to start raising any other conspiracy theories or anything else, most of the heat not burn comes from the big tobacco companies.
Exactly. They're just trying to find the. I mean, if the money will go out of this pocket, we'll fill it from this pocket. At the
Hmm.
end of the day,
And
the money will be ours.
yeah, yeah. I do want to just refer back to one point you said earlier where you said smoking is safe. Sorry, vaping is safe. There's vaping,
95%.
yeah, well, 95%. What Public Health England say is it's 95% safer than smoking. And I think it'd be disingenuous of us to suggest that it's healthy. But I think that was the word you used. Healthy is vaping.
Healthy, yes,
Anything that's
that's
not
right.
anything other than air you're drawing into your lungs is not natural. And long term, we don't know that vaping causes any harm or any damage. We do know for a
Yes.
fact it's 95, 96% healthier than smoking. And that's the key message is I have friends who've never smoked and they'll say to me, oh, what's it like? Give me it, let me try it. And I will let them. It's like, what the fuck do you want to do that for?
Yeah.
Why would you? Why would I would never encourage anyone to? It's a smoking cessation
This
tool.
is always what I advise everyone. If you're not a smoker and if you're not a hookah, you know hookah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. If you're not a hookah smoker and you think that vaping is good for you, no, it's not good for you. If
It's
you
just
don't
better.
smoke, you're perfect.
Don't bother. Don't try. It's not a thing to try. It's not
Don't
something
go
you need
ahead.
to get
You don't
into.
need this. Yeah, you don't need this. At the end of the day, trust me, it's a habit. I know from myself, I used to smoke like 2 packets of cigarette 3 years ago. And then I shifted to vaping. I still use some cigarettes at night. And then, like 2 years ago, no cigarette at all. And I can spend easily the day without vaping. And the latest proof was Ramadan. We had 1 week ago, we had Ramadan for a full month. I wasn't vaping the whole day. I didn't miss it. So at the end of the day, it can become a habit, and you can easily just leave it away.
Oh, well, I think it's look, it's called ENDS. It's an electronic nicotine delivery system. Okay, and we need to look at it like that. Is that
Yes.
it's a way of replacing and just it's a smoking cessation tool. And I think people, I don't disparage them. I know people get really, really into the culture and the hobby side of things, and I can totally understand that. And I know a vast amount of people who vape zero mg. So they're just doing it. They're doing it out of habit or enjoyment. Oh, we've just missed SpaceX blasting off. I've just had a notification. Um, um, and that's fine. It's fine. You know, I'm not personally. What I would suggest is you use it as a smoking cessation tool, and then once you've got that, you should be looking to wean yourself down and wean yourself off. That's the whole purpose of vaping to me. But for a lot of people, it becomes a lifestyle, and that's okay. You know, it's okay. At the end of the day,
We have
you still work.
a question in the chat. Paul, the
Okay.
guy who we hosted the first show, he's asking about the updates of vaping in the UK, I think, versus the state. Any
Oh,
positive
Paul.
progress?
Yeah. Paul, I'm from the UK, so not fully up to date with changes in the US. There have been a few great successes recently where state decisions to ban flavored vape has been overturned, Michigan being one. So yes, it's positive. Certainly moving in the right direction. We're in a much better position as a community now than we were this time last year, or sort of August time when the fake news came out. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think state by state now, as they're introducing not federal law, but state by state law, it's being overturned, and I think we're seeing precedents being set that are only good for us. And like I say, we as consumers have to drive that. We have to demand authentic products, and I like what you're doing, encouraging people to make their own liquids as opposed to buying clones or copies or cheap liquids. The thing is, look, if something's cheap, it's cheap for a reason. There's a very good reason you look at premium brands and they're more expensive. it's not because they've got a fancy label or a great name. It's because the manufacturing process is clean. It's because the products they use are medical grade. The owner use authentic, good products. Yes, Paul. Yeah, well, one of my colleagues, Charles, who Charles Archambault, who's not here today, was going to join us, but he was a bit tied up. Charles actually appeared in front of the I think I'm not sure if it was just local legislation in Michigan or whether it was at the Senate, but he did argue for vapors' rights there and gave quite a good, a really, really powerful speech. It was a little bit. He did give me a wry smile when he first sat down and gave his name, and they asked him where he was from. He's the most American person in the world. He's like, he bleeds red, white, and blue. He's like the most American person I've ever met. But because his surname was Archambault, I think they sort of questioned whether he had any validity
Yeah,
to
they
be
thought
there
he's not
speaking.
even American.
Yeah, he's super American. Yeah, he's super American. But they asked him that, and the way he shut him down was fantastic. And I advise you to have a look at that because it was a really powerful statement on behalf of the vaping
You
industry and
know,
the vaping community.
there's a lot
And
of people who
also,
went to the legalization and they did a very good speech. A lot of shop owners and, but I think it was a scam, man. They just sit, they hear to them, and at the end of the day, they don't give a damn what they are going to say. They already took the decision to start the vape ban in order to collect
yeah,
more money to raise the sales
yeah.
of cigarettes. It was a
Well,
waste of time, but seeing all these people go to these sessions and talk about their shops, about the vaping, what they're doing, and how they are saving lives. Old people who used to smoke, who turned into vaping, they went there also the same. Nothing happened. Nothing was
well,
going to happen because the decision was already made.
I disagree. I think initially at that time that they were pushing for a flavor ban, and that flavor ban that was it was a done deal. There was going to be a flavor ban, and that's been overturned
100%.
now. Yeah,
Sorry,
complete flavor ban. Yeah.
I want to get it back. So, what are you vaping on?
I've actually at the moment I've got some salts, so I'm a lazy vapor, right? Um,
Okay.
I don't like I wear shorts a lot, and having like a 60 ml bottle, a massive big mod in my pocket, and everything else drives me pretty mental. So what I tend to do is I'll have a 20, 30, maybe even a 50 mg salt nick, and I vape a lot less because of that, because I'm getting my nicotine that I sort of need
Yes.
in,
You're
in
getting your
in
nicotine. It's enough.
concentrate but smaller doses. But then at the moment I'm using this Navi, which I got gifted at Christmas by Vupu.
Yeah, I know.
Um, Fantastic little device, and the liquid I've got is actually it's a German one, but although I'm biased, I do love the new tobacco line Dinner Lady brought out a while ago. But there are so many great liquids on the market now. It's just hard to keep up.
Yes.
So many fantastic liquids out. Personal favourites of mine. I Tobacco's wise, I don't think anyone's ever come close to Cabana by VGod. That's I'm just an absolute world beater.
You know, I tried
Uh,
it and I didn't like it. I'm not a tobacco guy at
wow.
all. I'm a fruit guy or a desert. See, this is
So
what I vape every day on. It's not
I,
just because Dinner Lady are the sponsors of the channel, but this is what I vape on every day.
what have you got there? So you got some lemon
Honestly,
tart. Is that which one's the
you
fruits?
have
Which
the
fruits?
lemon tart, you have the berry blast,
That's one of my favourite
and you
fruits.
have pink wave.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the pink wave.
I
It's but
wasn't.
this is
I was forced because I'm almost out of juice, and I tried it, and it's amazing. It's really amazing. I like it a lot.
I
And
really like the
everyone's
berry
telling
blast.
me on fruits, you should try tobacco. I tried. I tried Vegard, and everyone told me you have to buy Vegard tobacco. I don't like it. I'm not a tobacco guy. At the end of the day, I don't like it.
And listen, if we all have the same taste, there'd only be one vape brand. There'd be one vape flavor. So it's one of them things where it depends on the time of year. Um, there's times I'll want a fruit, I want ice. Other times I'll be craving desserts. I really like the berry tart from Dinner Lady. I think I'm one of the few people in the world. There's a flavor that's discontinued now they made, which is rice pudding, and I absolutely love
Rice
that. But
pudding.
I am literally on my own. I've only ever found two other people who liked it. In fact, I've got a bottle is 18 months out of date now. I'm not advocating anybody vapes a product that's past its sell by date, but I love it. It's steeped that long. It's totally discolored. It's like, and I just save and drip
I'm
a little bit
ready.
every now and then.
I'm ready to use this for the rest of my life.
Well, that's an old
Best
one in
ever.
a glass bottle. We've not been in glass bottles for
I
over
love
12 months now.
the lemon tart is my number one flavor. In every
Yeah.
review I use it. It's
Hmm.
my number one flavor. I don't like anything more than this one.
No, it's a great liquid. It's a great liquid. I think it'd
I
be
know.
hard push to find a single flavor that's sold more than that. You know, most great flavors have a shelf life of maybe 6 to 12 months, and then they fade
Hmm.
off. People get bored because tastes change. People get bored, and there's so many great
Exactly.
flavors that people move on. Lemon tart's been one of the
Lemon
best
tart is
sellers for 3 years now.
and to me this is like one of the best. I have a questions for you. Are you ready to let me pop up that question on the screen.
Professor, I am Professor Moriarty. What do you mean?
Hold on. Yes. Are you related in any way? George is one of my good friends here in Lebanon. He's asking you, are you related in any way to Professor Moriarty?
Well, don't tell Sherlock Holmes, but I am actually him. I've actually,
No.
funnily enough, my uncle is called James. He's not a professor, but he is James Moriarty. And my auntie, he's my dad's brother. My auntie, one of my dad's sisters, married, and when she got married, her husband's name was Sherlock. I'm not joking either. Um, so she's a Sherlock, and we're all
Sherlock Moriarty.
Moriartys.
Where are you originally from? Are you Italian?
No, no. Oh, the name is actually originally from Ireland, and my family emigrated in the
Ireland.
potato famines in the 1700s to Canada. And my granddad was in the merchant navy in the war, and he met my dad. Yeah, so that's Canadian in essence.
All right, I have a question for you now regarding your career. You just
Hmm.
started with Chubby Gorilla, right?
Yeah,
Are you going to be traveling the same way you were doing with Dinner Lady?
yeah. So
Or is it
predominantly, I'm
too
not. They'll, I mean, Chubby obviously is synonymous with the vape industry. Like I say, we supply as a minimum 60% of the bottles that are used in the vape industry. So we're at most of
and
the
you guys
shows.
you don't supply only vaping, you supply other sports also,
Uh-huh.
other
Yeah, we
industries.
supply other industries as well. We're a packaging company. We supply packaging solutions, but vaping is where we started. And so, yeah, in answer to the question, yes, I will be because we'll still be doing lots of shows. My role has changed in that I'm not. It's not quite the same as it used to be. But yeah, I'll still be on the road a lot. There are a lot of developer markets that we need to go to, and we need to get this message of compliance and authenticity across, not just for our brand, but for the vaping industry on large.
Hmm.
It's really
Right.
important that we drive. We've got to drive the value of consumers. Consumers need to understand how important they are and how much they dictate what the industry does. We've got to, as much as possible, we've got to self-regulate. We have to demand a certain level of professionalism within the market. We've got to refuse to by buying a cheap fake product, we're endorsing that. And what we're saying is that we don't care as an industry. And again, I refer back to the child resistant caps, but it's a really, really important feature that if we're going to say that this is an adult product, and we're not going to encourage use by children. Whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter. The perception from the anti-vape lobby is that, and they will use that as an excuse to attack us and attack our industry.
Exactly.
So we have to insist that every vape bottle you've got, we have a little campaign coming up shortly where it's just going to be turn the bottle, check your gorilla, check your gorilla. And we're going to be really pushing to ensure that, and we're going to be protecting our partners who, by using our products are endorsing that message as well, and we're going to be really pushing them and connecting them with other suppliers too. And just getting back to the point, I think it was Keith's question he asked earlier, and he mentioned that we do a lot to protect vapers in the US. Well, not just in the US as well. We also support lots of advocacy groups. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but today is World Vape Day. It's a campaign, big global campaign, and do what you can to support initiatives in other areas, even if it's just sharing a picture. You may have seen I put one up earlier and the chap in that picture is a good friend of mine from Ireland who's a huge vaping advocate, has nothing to gain from it financially whatsoever, but he works tirelessly to promote and defend vapers' rights. And it is literally just a picture. I've been smoke free for this many days. World Vape Day, say no to legislation, that kind of thing. And I can just, if I can ask everyone to just do that and post a picture up, just put a little hashtag World Vape Day. It just spreads the message out, and we're just trying to do everything we can to support vapors' rights. It's like I feel in a lot of cases like we're really having our right to demand not to smoke. And it's
Exactly.
easy for non-smokers to say, well, why don't you just quit? Well, do you know what? Because I'm fucking human and I've got a nicotine addiction. There's nothing wrong in saying that. All right. So
They don't know. They don't know.
vape,
They don't
vaping is,
know. They
they
think
don't know.
quitting
They don't.
smoking is like that.
No,
It's not.
no, it's not. It's not. It's
We
far from it.
and there is a lot of solution. The badge, a lot of solution in the market that was invented 10 or 15 years ago, and I think most of the smoker went through almost every single one of them, and
Yeah.
they all went back to smoking because it's
I,
very
I,
easy. I know from
I
myself.
try.
Once I took the decision, I'm not gonna smoke for a month, and I did that. The first situation where I went really angry, I had a very, very bad situation. I went back to smoking easily. Now,
Yeah,
whatever happened, I just don't even think about it. And whenever anyone smoke in front of me, I really hate the smell.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I look. I like you when I first started vaping in earnest. I still smoked occasionally, talking like maybe 3 years
Exactly.
ago now. If I was going for a drink with friends, that was always a little trigger for me. I'd have a cigarette, and that went on for maybe 6 months. And then salt nicotine came out. And I found that was a fantastic way of
Which helped a lot.
delivering the nicotine to me in a quick and strong enough way that I could vape 3 mg all days, fine, no problem. I could take it or leave it. I'll go for a drink and it would trigger me. And the salt nicotine stopped that. Instead of reaching for a cigarette, I'd reach for a mod. And the other great thing about the involvement of MTLs is that I probably shouldn't say this, but I use them on flights. Just hold it in,
You know
wait,
what really helped me to
exhale
quit
nothing.
smoking? You know what really helped me to quit smoking?
Go on.
One device. Do you know this?
I can't see it. Oh, is it the? All right, okay, yeah, that works for you.
It's the S pod.
Yeah,
It has a really tight draw. You can hold it like a cigarette. Pure MTL. Just put some nicotine salt liquid, and it's a cigarette.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think were a really good thing for a lot of people because look, the stigma attached to vaping. Okay, there's a lot of people
Yeah.
who look at it. For me, before I got involved in the vaping industry and I wanted to quit smoking, I'd walk past vape shops and I did this. I went into countless vape shops, right? But I would walk past them. I'd see all the big clouds. I'd see all the young kids with earrings, tattoos, and all the funky clothes and stuff.
Yes.
And as a 30-odd-year-old man, I looked at that and I thought, yeah, that's, that, it was a little bit off-putting, right?
It's too
And
much.
then you'd go in, well, then you'd go in and find a quiet one, and they'd start talking about sub-ohm, MTL, DTLs, different nicotine strengths. And one of the most crazy, crazy questions I ever hear people asking retailers, what flavors do you like? What do I know? I
Exactly.
don't vape. I've no idea. I don't vape. And I bought, I spent £300-400 on about 4 or 5 devices. And what was happening was people were selling me Kanga techs, which, and when they're saying to me, it doesn't leak. What do you mean? I
At
never even
that
asked
time,
them. It
Kangatech
leaked.
was the number one.
Terrible product. But I was just being
Yeah.
sold what they wanted to sell, and I wasn't being sold what I needed. Nobody was questioning me about me, right? So I didn't, and then I bought a lot of devices. I bought a lot of the CE4s, and a lot of the disposable Cigalikes.
Mm.
And it just wasn't working for me. As sub-owned devices, 3 mg, 6 mg didn't work for me. And when I got to 12 or 18 mg, it was too harsh on my throat. There was nothing working for me.
You had a very harsh throat hit.
And it's not good for me. I know it's very, very popular in Arabic countries. That's we're all different,
Mm.
but predominantly what fixed it for me was good MTLs and
And next
salt
one,
nicotine. That's it. That's what did it for me. And
I have a
now,
question for you. I tried the Dinner Lady Lemon Tart 30 milligram nicotine. It's really smooth. You don't even think there is nic salt in it.
yeah,
Nothing.
nope,
You don't feel it. You don't have
nope.
like, I mean, the 50, yeah, you can feel it, but the 30, it's really smooth. And one of my friends was asking me which one I should buy. I told him Dinner Lady, the lemon tart, because you won't feel any throat hit, but the nicotine is delivered. I mean, you won't be needing any cigarettes anymore. And he tried it, and it was amazing.
So for some people that works. I mean, we got a lot of questions and queries over the next. There's 2 different types of acids you can use to make salt nicotine. I don't want to go too much into it because I don't want to be disparaging of the brands that use a particular type of acid, which I don't agree with. It's very addictive. But um, one gives you the really, really smooth, you don't get any throat hit. Now, the problem for people quitting smoking is they need that throat hit. We've got to replicate the action of
Exactly.
smoking it, and that includes a throat hit. So, whilst it's great for you,
The whole
it's not
feeling.
always great for everyone.
Yes. The whole feeling. They need the whole feeling of a very harsh throat hit,
And
especially
sometimes,
for if they smoke Marlboro, for example.
yeah, and sometimes it's got to feel like a cigarette, which is why um yes, there's a little bit of
That's why I use this.
environmentalness. Yeah,
That's why
exactly.
I
Yeah,
use this because
and
it
and
is
it's because it provides you with what you need, doesn't it? And
yeah.
it's
That's
why
what exactly made me stop the cigarettes at first.
I mean my advice to anyone who wants to try um, vaping as a smoking cessation is to just try some disposables to begin with. Don't invest loads of money.
Exactly.
If you go into a
And
shop,
they're cheap. They're not expensive.
they're cheap. They're cheap, and if it works for you, look, they're similar in size and design to a cigarette. For a lot of people, the
Yeah.
discretion of having something small is good. They're not sat there blowing big clouds out, but it replicates the smoking action a lot more than sub-ohm. And if that works
You
for you,
cannot
then go and
you
invest
cannot
in a DT.
advise a smoker to quit smoking and go to something like this.
It won't work. No, you just confuse the hell out of them.
Won't
But you'd be
work.
surprised.
It won't
You'd be
work.
surprised how many do. I'll give you an example. I was getting a taxi to the airport last year. I was going to the Middle East somewhere, and I was talking to the taxi driver, and we just launched the disposable devices, and I had a load with me,
Yes.
and I was using one, and the chap was like, "Oh, I vape." Oh, great, yeah. What you vaping? He said, "I've only been vaping 2 months." He says, "Sorry, 2 weeks. I had to quit smoking. I'm smoking 40 a day." I'm like, "Good for you, man. Good for you. What you're using, just having a conversation." Yeah, he said, "Well, I went into this shop, and the guy said recommended this to me. So he showed me all his stuff. Right? He's got four flavors
Which,
in his glove box. They're 100 ml with no nicotine in. Right? No nicotine.
what?
Right? No nicotine.
It won't work.
Right? And the guy told him to buy a Smok Alien, a 2-year-old device, a sub-ohm device with no nicotine on the liquids. And
He's
he said,
just
I've been
selling
using.
all goods that are not selling in his shop. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, he just palmed it off. So I actually went
That's
into that
why.
shop and
That's
I
why
tore strips off him
we have reviews. That's why we have a review channel to
to
educate people
educate,
and tell them what they
educate.
should use. Yeah,
And, and,
what
and
they should use, what they shouldn't do, what they should. I mean, if you go to a shop, it's like you're telling him, "I have this money. What do you want to sell me?" It's not that I'm coming here to buy this because I know that this is good for me.
that's what they should be doing. I mean, it's short term, bad business practice. Forget how bad it is for that particular vapor. It's bad business practice because that that guy was like he went back after 2 days and said it's not helping me, right? So the guy said you've got the wrong liquids and
Exactly.
gave him another 2 bottles of 200 ml bottles, again with no nicotine in. I said to him, I told him all the way. I said he's just ripping you off, and I gave him some. I actually had a spare MTL with me that I forget what it was. I think about a Ravenna or Zero. I gave him that. I gave him some coils. I gave him some salt nick, and I gave him some disposables as well. And then he took my card, and it literally, I was just swamped by messages from him for the next like week, 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Like, this is working perfect. I haven't smoked a cigarette. Every time I get the craving, I'm still getting cravings. People need to understand that it still takes willpower to quit. You have to want to quit. All this is doing is giving you the nicotine. It's not a magic cure all. All right. But this guy was so
Exactly. It's just
enamored. He was
giving you the
so happy.
The most important thing about vaping is not you're not inhaling the tar anymore, which make your lungs black. You know what I mean?
That and the
This is
carcinogenics.
the most important thing. Yeah, this
And
is what
and
might
that
cause cancer, by the way.
exactly, yeah. And that's why we say it's healthier. It's
Yeah,
safer. Very careful to get the correct
safer.
wording. I'm always because we can sort of give the wrong impression of what vaping's about. It's a smoking cessation tool. But we have to, and I'll keep drumming this message every time I speak to anyone, is as consumers, and I'm a consumer, I'm fortunate enough to work in an industry that helps save lives, but I'm a consumer. I'll always be a consumer. And we have to drive what the industry does. We have to demand a
Exactly.
certain standard. We have to demand the best manufacturing processes. We have to demand the best components, and we have to demand and support people who innovate and support the industry. We put again coming back to Keith's point where he said that we do a lot for defending vapors' rights. We financially support advocacy groups across the world. We do a lot to stamp out, and we refuse to deal with and trade with, even though it affects us financially, people who are performing bad business practices. But we've got to, it's on, we've got to take responsibility as consumers and say, no, we've got to realize how powerful our voice is and this comes to not just what we vape, what products that we buy and what we demand, but also when we vote as well, uh, make sure you're voting for people who are pro vaping. If it means you've got to vote somewhere you didn't quite want to, then look at a short term thing. Well, vapeday.org, well done. Thank you very much, George.
George,
Yeah.
let me tell you a small story about George. When I first decided to start my vaping reviews channel, I contacted him and he said, yes, why not? You'll be the first. So go ahead and do it. And when I decided also to start the live shows, he was the first one that I contacted him, and he said, "Well, you should do it." And George has been a very, very supportive guy. The whole group is supportive, but George in particular, he is my number one supporter. I like him so much. He's a good friend,
It's
by the
it.
way.
Where's he from, George? It's not a Lebanese name,
He's Lebanese.
is he? Okay.
Yes,
I
he's
can't see his
George
picture too
Faris.
well. Ah, Faris. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, thanks for sharing that, George. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's something,
Yes,
and we've got to look at these things that advocacy groups are doing on our behalf, and we've got to support them. I mean, just a little thing, like just put a post up. I've been smoke free for this many days. You know, just sharing it and just getting the message out, and educating other people. When people say smoking's worse than vaping, just don't get into arguments about them. Just ask them why. Why is that? Where have
these
you
are
read
the
that?
negative guys, bro. These are the negative guys.
But we've
Whenever
got to.
I'm smoking and I'm vaping, sorry, in public, they come and say, "Oh, this is bad. What are you doing? This is not good for you. Cigarettes are better." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What do you know about vaping?" He said,
Well,
"Well,
look.
my aunt is saying it's
So what I would advise there in them circumstances, and like I say, I'm not the arbiter of vaping. I'm not the arbiter of truth here. So take it with a pinch of salt, and take it with
Jordan is
people'
half
opinions as
French,
well.
half Lebanese."
Half French, half Lebanese.
They send you,
Ah, great.
yeah, they send you his greetings.
I'm half Scouse, half English. So what I
John
would advise
Moriarty.
in them circumstances, Moriarty, yeah, is don't don't get confrontational about it, but ask them questions. Okay, so that's interesting. Can I ask how you know that? Where did you learn that? Who's
Exactly.
told you that? And point them to Public Health England, right? And you
This is
use the
what I do,
example
to be
like
honest. You check my
just
Instagram account. It's all about Public Health England, PHE.
just just ask and ask and when they say, oh yeah, but the CDC said this, well the CDC have backtracked on what they said, but Public
Yeah,
Health England are responsible for preventing illness. They've got no dog in this fight. They're only their
nothing to gain.
constant permanent objective. That what they've got to gain is people don't smoke and don't get cancer. It reduces the drain on resources. That's their benefit. So
Yeah,
their objective is to help us as consumers and smokers to reduce smoking
yes,
and ergo reduce cancer, right? So they've got it's only positive. So, like I say, it's very easy to get argumentative with people when they challenge something that we know is false. So all I'd advise is just keep calm, smile, and go. That's really interesting. But where did you hear that? I'd love to know. And then just say because
I don't
I've
have
seen this.
research, just word of mouth. I
Yeah, but
hear
you
this
can
from my friend, I hear that from a friend. Didn't you see what's happening in America? They are vaping banning. Then you have to explain that the ban in USA is due to financial issues. But what I do is I always send them the reports by the PHE, Public Health England, and they somehow start to understand. And I did help a
and
lot
that's
of
perfect.
my
That's
friends quit
perfect.
smoking.
And remember as well, if we can we've just got to do it calmly and dispassionate and passionately. That's all. And
Exactly.
with an understanding that people who say that have just read information and misinformation. They've been misled.
Bro,
It's not their fault.
do you know
They've
what I
just
what
been
I say? Do
misinformed.
you know what I say? I say you are smoking a cigarette. They reply with yes. I said you know that cigarettes kills. They cause cancer. They reply with the same. Yes, we know, but well, did you see this guy? He's like 100 years old. He's smoking and nothing happened to him. Said, okay, you're not like him, but eventually this will cause you probably cancer. Your lungs are totally screwed now. So if I give you an option to reduce the tar inhaling and start something that is a little bit healthier, and if you want to think about the cost, it's the same cost. If you do the calculation, it's the same cost to buy a bottle of juice, or I mean, the first time you're gonna buy something like this. Where is it? Here it is. You're gonna buy an empty LRTA with a mod. That's it. But then you'll be
Yeah,
monthly buying just the juice, which is the same cost of a pack of cigarette if you buy, let's say, a pack every day, you know. But
Well,
if you're a
there's this,
smoker, you
there's
know, and you are a smoker, you know that it's very hard to quit smoking.
yeah, it is absolutely. It's very difficult, and we shouldn't. So when I was in Iraq last year, and I had a disposable device in my pocket, and you've seen them. They come in a packet that looks like a pack of cigarettes. It's all part of the psychological
I saw them.
process to
It's
remind
like a joke thing.
so people think they're smoking. It's just replicating that whole process. And it was in my pocket. And I posted I was in this shop on Instagram, and then someone put a comment on. I was in the shop and I saw a pack of cigarettes in your pocket, and I was like, well, at this point, I'd not been smoking for maybe a year, and I'm thinking, well, look, there's 2 points here. A, you didn't, right? B, so what? We should not be judging people who are struggling to quit but trying. We should be encouraging them. And that was my reply
Exactly.
back to him was, let's say I do. I'm trying, you know, I didn't, but if I did, I'm trying to
You're
quit. You
trying to
should be
be funny.
encouraging, not calling me out. He was actually, I think he was being fed by someone else. There's more to it than that. But, you know, what the point is, though, is that if somebody is still smoking and vaping, don't don't discount them. Don't sort of should not as
Just encourage
consumers as a group encourage them. Don't call them out for it. Just encourage them. Just tell them to keep trying. Just cut one
them.
cigarette a day down. You know, every step, and we should be positive and encouraging at all times, and not judgmental of people who are struggling. Because eventually, like me, they'll find the right way of vaping that works for them, like you. There's always a way. There's something that works for some that doesn't always work for others, and we should be constantly just encouraging them.
I mean, I started with the Sabon tank by Vaporesso. Then I moved to RTAs, the rebuildables. Then I moved to squonking, and finally I found my peace with MTL. I mean,
Same
if
for me.
I'm not using the code, yeah, the MTL is perfect to me.
And you
It
know
has
the
only
great thing,
nicotine in here. It's perfect.
the great thing about MTLs is that there's constant new ones coming out, so we can fulfill our need and desire to buy gadgets, and they're
You
really
have a
low
lot of
cost.
options.
Yeah, and they're 20 30 dollars. You know, it's I don't know for you guys, but you know, 20 30
Yeah,
dollars
not
for a
expensive.
cheap, cheap, it's
Hmm?
cheap. You know, and I've actually this is the longest I've used any particular MCL. Um, Partly, I think because my missus boxed everything up and shoved my collection up in the loft, so I don't get any option. But what I used to have a couple of devices, 2 or 3 devices, just sort of on the side, and what flavor I wanted would dictate what device I used. you know,
Yeah.
but I'm a big fan of Geek Vape and Vaporesso. I think they're two great companies with great staff and really, really good products. And they're an example of two companies that really do a
I want
lot
to
for
show
the
you something.
industry.
I want to show you
Okay.
something. That's what I have next to me on my couch. Check this out.
That's not
That's
bad,
the
mate.
collection that I'm using. Yeah, especially this bad boy here.
I like them. They're cool,
Yeah,
aren't they?
these
Yeah.
are next to
It,
me every day. I use them every day.
if I showed you mine, you'd be horrified by how many devices I've got.
I know,
Did,
I know.
DigiVape actually? DigiVape make a really really good wireless charging device. I have got one kicking around somewhere. I've not opened yet, and it sits on a wireless charger on your desk. It's fantastic when you sat at the desk all day. It's just constantly
You
charges.
just keep it
Eight,
on a thread and you charge wirelessly.
yeah, 18650s. It's got batteries and they just sit there on a wireless charger built perfectly for it. DigiVape, an amazing product, really, really, really good from Geek Vape. Yeah, brilliant product.
Well, we came to the end of our show. This was a really good information provided by you, especially what's happening between the UK and the US and the difference because not a lot of the guys in the vaping industry or outside of the vaping industry understand the difference between what's happening and why the PHE is really recommending if you're a smoker to move to a vape or MTL or DL, whatever it suits you better. So,
Yeah.
do you have anything else you want to tell us? We really
Uh,
enjoyed having you. It was a really good show. A lot of information provided by you.
I would appreciate that. I appreciate that. I just, like I say, I just reiterate the point that it's us as consumers who will dictate what our industry is going to look like. And we've got to
Yes.
demand the best if we want to be taken seriously and want to be able to stand up and say we are a serious industry. It's going to come from us. Also, from my perspective, a lot of what I say is an opinion. It's not necessarily, don't necessarily take it as verbatim. Do your own research. Do so with an open mind. And I would completely ignore any memes you see on Facebook because
Yeah.
a lot of what's on there is just poisonous and is fed
There are
by
a lot of funny
anti-vaping
guys
lobby.
and a lot of negative guys, and especially I still remember that report on CNN. The guy was saying when he was on in the bed in the hospital, he was saying because I was vaping and then they cut it. But then a friend of him pulled out the video. He was saying I was vaping THC that I bought it from an illegal drug dealer. They just removed that part and they kept it until he reached the word vaping.
Yeah,
Just to you see, and this is the American government. It's not just a meme. It's the government
no,
who's doing this game. Just
yeah.
that the world will understand that vaping is really healthier or safer than a cigarette. And just don't listen to bullshit. You have a lot of advocacy. You have a
Do
lot of
do your
advocate. You can check with them.
do
Do
your
your
own
own
research.
research. Yeah,
And if you really want to look into what I feel instigated the anti-vaping fake news in the USA, just search for the Master Settlement Agreement, and there's lots of factual
master settlement
information.
agreement.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of factual information on there, which shows that states that were earning £1 billion 3 years ago as a payment for cigarette sales are now earning zero, and that's a lot of money.
Nowadays,
And
that's a lot of
and it just a lot of money, and that money's not theirs. They owe the banks that money, right? There's a lot of so just but look into that. But like I say, look, I try not to be, but ultimately I'm in the industry and I'm a vaping advocate. So my opinion will always be that little bit biased, as much as I try not to. So take what I say, take what other people say, do your own research. Do not just take
then you
one
can
piece of
really
information
decide.
and then make your own mind up. It's the truth's out there, and it's readily available for anyone with an open mind. So that's what I'd really like to leave you with. And like I say, just driving home the point of just try not. If something's cheap, it's cheap for a reason, and ultimately we're putting this
Exactly.
product into our body, and there's a reason that premium brands and premium products are premium. And if we want to have an industry free of overzealous legislation in future, then we've got
Yeah,
to
why?
we have to demand quality from the ground up. We have to be the ones. I would suggest, like, if you go into a vape store, or you're speaking with someone, I know it's difficult for you guys there, but if you are going in, just one simple quick thing, that if somebody isn't using a Chubby Gorilla bottle right now, they're using something that's not up to standard. And if that's the case, if they're not prepared to spend an extra 2 3 cents on something that is the industry standard, then what the hell are they doing to save what's going in the bottle, which is the important thing?
Exactly.
And the
You want to
very
be sure what's inside. You
if
want
they
to be
if they
sure what's is in.
if they're penny pinching on packaging and they can save a lot more money on the components of the product they're making, and what the hell are they going to put in the product? And that is something I think you can very easily check. Just turn your bottle upside down and check for the gorilla, and
Yes.
just demand
Just
that in a first instance. I guarantee you that you haven't got one bottle unless it's fake that hasn't got the gorilla on. So just upend
no,
it.
no. I have them
No,
all.
it's not. They will all have you. They won't be. They
They
won't. You
all
will not
have.
have a brand from the
This is
UK.
another brand, by the way. This is another brand from the US. It's drops. It's also made by a Lebanese guy, by the way.
Yeah,
and it has the Chubby Gorilla.
yeah. I could list off probably 100
So
brands
yes,
now that all use ours. Like I say, and because these are good brands, these are compliant brands. They know the benefit of the quality. They know the child-resistant caps are protecting. They're not just protecting children from getting hold of the product, but they're protecting our industry. And I think it's a quick, easy, simple solution for people to say, okay, this is. It's not to say that what everything that isn't in a Chubby Gorilla bottle is substandard, but it certainly implies that if they're going to penny pinch on the packaging, then they're going to penny pinch on the components, and it should be a danger flag. It should be
exactly.
a warning sign to everyone that if they've not got a gorilla on the bottle, just say no. Just say no.
Just don't buy the juice.
Just say no
Don't buy
because
the bottle.
it's a simple little thing that you can do that says, look, it's got the gorilla on, it's quality because and that's it's an indication that they're prepared to invest in the right external components, then the likelihood is they're going to be looking after the right internal components, which is the essential thing.
Well, that's it. George, John, I don't know why I called you George. John,
I think it's because we
thank
were
you.
talking about it earlier. You're welcome, Jay. You're welcome. It's great to speak to you again.
Thank you for being on the show. I'm gonna check out what's gonna happen now. To next week. Next week we have another show with another wonderful guy from Lebanon. He will tell us everything regarding the coils. So,
Okay,
like, I'm
super.
not a coil expert. Yeah, I'm not a coil expert, but that guy is a coil expert. So,
Yeah.
John, thank you for being with us today, and it was really a lot of information provided by you.
I hope some of it was some use. I've no doubt a lot of it wasn't, but if we get one little snippet from it, then that's fantastic. And if anybody watching wants to add me on Facebook or Instagram, please do so, and you can message me at any time. And we are we're very proud of what we've done to protect the vaping industry, and we'll continue to do so. And if there's anyone looking or thinking of starting up making their own brands, or they want any information, I'm easily and readily available for you. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
Cheers, Jay.
Hopefully, we'll
Take
catch
care,
you with
mate. Thanks
another show
very
someday.
much for the invite. Yeah, definitely. I'm well anytime, mate. I would love to come back.
Yes. Thanks a lot, John. Have a
Okay,
nice
Jay.
day.
Take care, brother. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.